streaming. Hey guys. All right. So, my name is Eric Harding. Excuse me. I own a company called StarCat Games. I own a few companies. I'm an entrepreneur. Um, I do a lot of different things. I own a vending machine company. I own a game design company, an art company. The reason I'm saying this is not to brag, but to explain what I'm doing here. And I come in contact with contracts all the time. And today I'm going to be sort of going over some of the crazy stuff that I see. This is probably one of the craziest contracts that I've ever come across. But the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of my customers are signing contracts like this. And I feel like when I look at this, I think nobody in their right mind would sign this, but people are signing these things. And I want to expose them and I want people to be aware of the type of stuff because you can read this and maybe it looks okay to you, but you're not really thinking down the line here. So I want to go over a couple of things. First, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. I am simply going over what I see in the contracts, whether it's good business or not, but there are certain contracts that are specifically designed to scam you, and this being one of them. So I guess the first thing is, if you live in America, unless the contract states otherwise, the in a work for hire situation, you are automatically the copyright owner. So if you go to an artist and you say, "Hey, I want you to create this art," if nothing else is put into that arrangement, you going to the artist, you are the author, so you automatically get the copyright. Copyright is created when that art becomes, when it becomes art, when it becomes made, and so you're the author since it entered the world at your behest. You can Google and do some research on your own, but that's sort of the gist of it. But let's go over this wacky contract here. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read these out, and then we'll talk about them. Um, so work, okay. I've obviously marked out the names of the person, the people to not be exposed and whatnot, just to cover myself legally. So the first part is work. The commissioner retains artists to create artwork for 9 cards. I'm not going to go into the details here. Text placement for up to 90 cards. I think that's just a bad idea, but packaging design and rulebook design for Friendly Vikings card game. Work includes 3 to 5 sketched concepts for each of the above items and up to 3 rounds of revisions for the artwork. So the first thing I don't like about this is the retainer language. Retainer is a completely different type of situation than a work for hire contract. It's there's a lot of legal things. Like I said, you can go look up what a retainer is, but it's not appropriate for this type of situation. I think he put that in there, the artist. I think this is an artist contract, so this is his creation that he came up with. I think that retainer, I think he probably put that in there just to sound like he was worth more than he is. I don't think he understood the legal ramifications of being a retainer. So you don't want a retainer for simple work for hire contract. You want to get it done. You want to get out. Packaging design. So let's see. It says rulebook design. Let's see. Packaging design and rulebook design. So here, I don't like. I mean, this is just a minor complaint, but it's pretty vague. I like, contracts are supposed to be specific. Um, there needs to be specific, what you plan to execute here. Um, you shouldn't have to interpret things. Uh, it's an expectation of services. So I just like to be specific when we're dealing with contracts. Like I said, that is only a minor complaint. It's nothing for the lunacy that's about to unfold here. So revisions. Okay, so let's see. It says up to 3 rounds of revisions to arrive at the final artwork. I don't like the up to 3 rounds of revisions because what if, for example, he wants to give you stick figures just for whatever reason. I'm not saying he would, and I'm not saying any artist would, but just if he wanted to be an a-hole, just what if he wanted to? Then you've used up your 3 revisions. Like, no, this isn't correct. Do it again, or do this, do that. Well, what if he never makes it in that 3rd revision? You're not happy with it. So then what? There's no clause here to cover that. That's a huge deal, because what then, I mean, there's nothing saying he has to do more. Are you paying for more? Like how does this work? Again, this is left open-ended, so you have to sort of figure things out. You have to navigate those waters after the situation happens. Shouldn't be like that. Let's see what else. Yeah, each person is going to handle that situation differently. So this is, again, why I like to be very specific in the contracts. Okay, so let's go over number 2, price and delivery. The non-refundable flat fee for work is $1,000 payment, and it must be made in 2 milestones. The first part of the payment, it says, and the first part of the payment must be made before any work begins. In consequence, the last milestone should be paid before the final work is delivered to the commissioner. Payment should be made in the method and manner specified by artist. Work is estimated to be delivered 4 to 6 weeks after the work begins, but commissioner agrees that the date of delivery is not material to this agreement. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a red flag here. I'm just going to check something here, make sure that we're still live. Okay, yeah, that's good. That looks good. So this is my first. At this point, I would stop talking to this artist because there's obviously a loose screw somewhere. But let's go over it. Let's dig in, shall we? Okay. So price and delivery. The first problem is the way that this is written. Once you pay, if the work doesn't get done, or if the work isn't satisfactory, how do you get your money back? There's nothing in here about that. Like, what happens if, it's like, okay, I paid you the money, but I don't like anything that you've done. Now what? So he's essentially sort of doing a take the money and run strategy here. Now, you'll notice as we go through this contract is designed for him to take complete advantage of you and you to get nothing in return for it. But okay, I understand non-refundable, I understand flat fee. What I don't understand is there's no protection for you. Okay? Like, why can't it have some sort of like there's no approval process here. Like, okay, after approval, then the money is non-refundable. You know what I mean? Like, there's no approval process. Like, you sort of have to take whatever he gives you in the way that this is written. Let's see. The first payment, oh, yes, the first payment, sorry, I'm going over my notes. The first payment must be made within 2 milestones. Let's see, where's that? Here we go. All right. Payment must be made in 2 milestones, and the first part must be made before any work begins. Well, number 1, this is not a milestone. Actually, neither of these are milestones. There is actually no mention of the milestone in here. It just says they must be made in 2 milestones. Well, what are the milestones? I mean, literally, what are the milestones? There aren't any in here. A milestone is when you reach a certain point in the work, like a checkpoint, and then the money is sent. There is no checkpoint in here. It simply just says, the payment must be made, and it doesn't make any sense. Payment should be made in the method and manner specified by artist. Why isn't it specified here? This doesn't make any sense. Like, all he said so far is he just wants cash up front, and before he delivers the final work, you have to pay the rest. I really don't understand. Like, this confuses me. The payment must be made within the method and manner specified by the artist. So really grasp this. The open-endedness is very suspect. What if he wants you to say, I'm not saying he would, and I know this is just ridiculous, but What if the method that he wants to be paid by is you stick a wad of 20s in a garbage bag and stick it in an overflow pipe in New York City or something? Are you contractually obligated to do that? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why isn't it specified in the contract? PayPal or Western Union or something like that. It shouldn't. I am so tired. We're not even halfway through this, and I'm just already dumbfounded. It just doesn't make any sense. There should not be any mysteries in a contract. It should be strictly defined and just no mysteries. Like, okay, well, now it's time to pay. What do we do? Well, read the contract. It's in the contract. Okay, so let's see. Work is estimated. Ah, yes, one of my favorite parts. Work is estimated to be delivered 4 to 6 weeks after the work begins, but Commissioner agrees that the date of delivery is not material to this agreement. What? What? So the so I'm going to give you a date, but it's a completely arbitrary date and you should ignore it, is essentially what he's saying. This date means nothing if he signs this. Why even bother putting 4 to 6 weeks? So that's, I mean, that's like saying, hey, the work will be done 4 to 6 weeks, but not really. Sorry. That makes no sense. Why would you sign something like this? I mean, you can just do the math mentally in your head of the many reasons that that is unacceptable. Okay, so I'm sorry, it's just so ridiculous. So the granting of rights. Artist agrees to the perpetual non-exclusive license of all rights, including but not limited to the right to display, modify, transmit, transfer, sell, and create derivative works to work to commissioner. That's bad writing. Excluding only the right to authorship credit, which is retained by the artist. Now that's a mouthful right there. That can actually be rather hard to understand. Artist agrees that the artist agrees that the work produced is with the intent to be unique and will not seek to resell, publish, or work except as is noted below. Let's see, I'm going to read that again. Artist agrees that work is to be produced with the intent it be unique and will not seek to resell or publish work as I can't even read this, just except as noted below. So this first part here, artist agrees that the perpetual non-exclusive license. So what he's trying to say is he is granting you a license for your own work that you're paying for. So this customer is coming to the artist and he says, hey, I need 9 images done for my game, a card game or a board game that I'm about to make. And the artist is like, okay, you will not own those rights. I will own those rights and I'm going to license them to you. That is not okay. I mean, that is not what he came to the guy for. I understand that that is a desperation move, and there are some people who do that. Like, for example, if Frank Miller, you know, or some super famous artist, the only way that I could get his business is if instead of, you know, me owning the rights, if he owned the rights and he was just letting me use it, I'd be like, yes, yes, sir. Anything to work with you, yes, sir. But this is just a regular artist who was hired to do a job, and he wants the rights. That doesn't make any sense. That's not okay. Um, you know, like, I mean, honestly, I could pick this apart all day, but, you know, I'll let you skim that and read that. But there's a lot here to digest, and I might even do that in another video because there's like 6 or 7 different things here. But let's move on just for the sake of time here. Artist right to authorship. So actually I think I have 4 and 5 here. So I'm okay with the artist's right to have authorship and things like that. That's fine. I don't really care about that. And honestly, this is probably number 4 is probably the least offensive of all of them. So I'm actually going to skip this one and move to 5 because, like I said, this is probably the only one that I'm actually sort of okay with. He just wants the right to show his name, and you know, it says, when asked, the commissioner must properly identify the artist as the creator of the work. Okay, that's fine. Whatever, I don't care. Commissioner does not have a proactive duty to display the artist's name together with work, but Commissioner may not seek to mislead. Okay, you know what? That's totally reasonable. In fact, that's the most reasonable thing that I've seen in this contract. I'm perfectly okay with that. It's almost as if the guy's not trying to scam him, but you'll see as we go on that that's not true. So number 5, additional rights. Oh boy, here we go. In the event of work being published as a product, Commissioner shall give artist free of charge, one sample of the product for artist's personal use. Artist shall have the right to purchase additional samples of the product at the Commissioner's manufacturing cost. I would have just wadded this contract up and thrown it out there, but let's continue. Additionally, in the event of the work being published as a product, Commissioner agrees to develop a royalties agreement with the artist. Please tell me that what did I just read here? There are so many things wrong here. Not only does this guy want money up front, but he wants a royalties deal too? That blows my mind. The audacity of an artist to do that. Hey, I'm going to take all your money up front, and I want royalties for this very simple job that anybody else would do pretty much, just regularly. That doesn't make any sense. So let's start at the beginning. So the Commissioner shall give the artist free of charge one sample of the products for artist's personal use. This is ridiculous. The Commissioner is under no obligation whatsoever to do anything like that, as well as it puts a financial burden on the customer, not only to purchase the game, but then to ship it. What if whatever he was creating cost $1,000? So he wants $1,000 product for free, and plus now you're financially burdened. You have to buy enough product to get the manufacturing cost. So if he makes a game and the only way that he can get his game for $1.10 per unit, you have to buy 1,000 units or 10,000 units or whatever. There are some companies that charge, they won't, like Panda, I think they won't do it for any less than 5,000 units. So are you saying I have to buy 5,000 units so you can get your $1.10 cost game? That is preposterous. No, I would have just crumbled this up and just thrown it out the window at that point. So it's like this guy doesn't want the job and he's just throwing as much ludicrous stuff in here as possible. So, yeah. He wants to develop a royalties deal. Now, here is where it gets interesting, and this is where I can see a lot of people getting tripped up. It says, additionally, in the event of the work being published as a product, Commissioner agrees to develop a royalties deal. Now, that's bad enough. The problem is it doesn't say what the royalties deal is. It just says agrees to develop a royalties agreement. Here's the problem with that. Let's say your game ends up on Kickstarter and it's doing very well. And now it's in circulation. And so it's in stores and whatnot. Now, guess what? Here comes the artist knocking on your door. Hey, let's develop that royalty deal. Well, he sees that your game is doing very well, and maybe he wants a huge chunk. Maybe you only wanted to give him 5%, but he's looking at 35%. Okay, and that's ridiculous. But let's just say he's looking at 35%. Well, you are too far apart. You're worlds apart. So he wants 35, you want 5. Maybe you'll come up to 10, maybe he'll go down to 30. You're still way too far apart. So he just says, you know what? I'm not going to develop this deal. I'm not happy with those numbers. Now what? You are contractually obligated not to sell your game. You can't do anything because you're in breach of contract at that point. You literally cannot do anything without him being a part of that royalties agreement, because now he can come after you for damages. This is a very dangerous line. So it's very sneaky on his behalf, or on his part, not to actually specify what the deal is. This is why I say don't leave your contracts open-ended, because if he disagrees, he shuts you down completely. You can't do anything. You've paid him $1,000 and now you can't do anything. Okay, let's continue to the best parts. Oh my god. Cancellation and expiration. The fee for work is non-refundable. If commissioner nonetheless does not want to or refuses to receive work, artists may decide whether or not to complete work and will exclusively retain all rights to work. Okay, so I don't mind the fee for work being non-refundable. That's fine, as long as the proper clauses are met, like approval and things like that. However, if commissioner nonetheless does not want to or refuses to receive work, artists may decide whether or not to complete work. Okay, first off, in a job, any job, why would you ever put into a contract the artist may decide whether or not to complete the work? That is a huge red flag. Can you imagine showing up at a job and being like, you know what, I've decided, like, I don't actually want to do the work, and there's really nothing you can do about it. You can't get away with that anywhere. You took the money, you have to do the work. Now, it says if the commissioner nonetheless does not want to or refuses to receive work. Now, I can't think of any situations where someone would refuse to receive work unless that work is either copied by someone else or if he is purposely giving you bad art. In which case, you know, at that point you should get your money back. But he has conveniently put in here that his work is non-refundable. So a customer who doesn't understand the ins and outs of contracts or law or anything like that would be, they'd think, okay, well, I just lost money, and this guy would have taken your money and run instead of fighting this. This is a highly dubious thing here. I don't even know how legal it is, but I understand. I am all for if the customer, for whatever reason, doesn't want the work, or I've had customers who take jobs and they disappear for like almost a year, and we're just like, you know what, we can't, you know, you're going to screw me on taxes because all of the money that you have given me, I'm supposed to give to my team, and I can't do that now because the job isn't finished. And so now I'm stuck with all this extra money that I have to pay taxes on. So you basically made me pay taxes on money that's not mine. And then when you come back, of course, you're going to want to continue the job. So this is not okay either. But I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent there. But exclusively retain the rights. Okay, if the job isn't done and the customer bails out or something like that, yes, I am fully okay with you retaining the rights to the work because he didn't pay for it or he didn't do that. However, you had him pay up front. So this doesn't work for me. This is just a bag of nonsense. This doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, there's a lot wrong with this. I really don't like the artist may decide whether or not to complete. Well, why would you complete the work? If he's not taking your work, why would you even put that in there? Just say, you know what? If the artist refuses the work, then the job's, you know, why not have a contract dissolve clause? If the artist refuses to, you know, receive work after X number of times, for whatever reason, then this contract is null and void, and it's dissolved, and we part ways, and you know, I keep whatever was paid. Or this is why you have to have proper milestones for situations like this, because this is such a one-sided contract. The customer benefits absolutely nothing from working with this guy. Nothing. It is, you have like a 2% chance to actually get a favorable outcome for you. Okay, so let's go on to number 7, shall we? So limitation of liability. So this one is probably my personal favorite, and you'll see why in a minute. Commissioner agrees that the artist will not be liable for any damages, including but not limited to incidental or consequential damages that arise from artist's performance of this commission, including but not limited to failure to perform in a timely manner, regardless of whether the failure was intentional or negligent. Let's just soak that in. These were actual words that are written by a human being and put into a contract to be taken seriously. I'll read that again. Failure to perform in a timely manner, regardless of whether the failure was intentional or negligent. He is literally saying, I do not have to do this job at all, and I am not responsible. I am so done with this contract. I mean, I would have blocked this dude on probably paragraph 2 or 3. But this dude is literally just, he might as well, this contract can be translated in a few simple words. I am trying to rob you. Sign here, please. Seriously, how can you even... And by the way, my customer signed this. I'm sorry, customer, whose name is clear here, but you signed this. Now, the good news is, I did get the customer's money back, and I'll tell you how. This type of contract that is so one-sided is called an unconscionable contract. An unconscionable contract is a contract that is so insanely one-sided or weighted heavily in one side's favor that it is shocking to the senses, I think is the legal term. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but that it's something in that vein. It's shocking to the senses how one-sided it is. And so we did manage to get his money back. And, you know, don't sign any contracts like this. Do not. Like, your contracts should not be open-ended. They should have proper milestones. Everything should be written out. Think of the contingencies. Think of, when you make a contract, I want you to think of people at their worst. What happens if he wants to give me stick figures? I'm not saying he will, but a person who is serious about working with you is okay about laying out the terms and their expectations and your expectations. Okay, their expectation is to draw or make art for you in a certain style or whatever. Their expectation of you is to pay them for this. And so whenever you're dealing with money, it needs to be a finicky, kind of meticulous process so that everybody gets what they're looking for. But yeah, I mean, this man is literally setting you up for failure. He is setting himself up to take your money and not even have to do the job. But the balls on this guy to even just say, regardless of whether the failure was intentional or negligent. Like, okay, what about this? What if your Kickstarter's up and you know, you're like, okay, in 6 months, you know, I've got to do my marketing. I've spent $10,000 on marketing, maybe a radio ad or something, or I went to, you know, Gen Con or something. I got a table, and I got 4 months until my Kickstarter is up, and I need the art like as soon as possible. This guy is on a cruise to the Bahamas, and he won't be back for 6 to 8 months. And guess what? Now all that work that you've put in is for naught because he is not responsible. He doesn't owe you anything. He doesn't even have to finish the job. And that is the unfortunate side effect of a contract like this. There's actually nothing wrong with number 8 because this just talks about enforcement and the states and whatnot. So yeah, there you have it. There is the first crazy contract video. So hopefully, if you guys like this, you know, you'll subscribe. Feel free to send me any crazy contracts that, you know, any contracts that you come across that are absolutely insane. You're wondering how anybody ever signed it, or maybe if you just want me to go over it. Again, not a lawyer. I'm not offering legal advice. It's more of a consultation, if anything. And so please, you know, like and subscribe, and check the, you know, website for Patreon. Don't be afraid to donate. You know, even $1 a month helps. And if you want to see more content like this, let me know. And that'll be that. Take it easy, folks.